Hello, everybody. Welcome to Take Back Your Health. My name is Dr. Sunil Pai. Today we have a great and amazing show. If you ever watched something like, I would say, 60 Minutes, for example, and you watch these interviews, and the 60-minute show is an investigative report, and it has all sorts of aspects of intrigue, science, mystery, governments, presidents involved, suppression of evidence. Today is a show that is quite unique. It is just like one of those episodes. And so what I want to explain to you is that please listen to the show, because we have someone amazing here that I'm very wonderful to have here. Her name is Sylvie Beljanski, and she is the author of Winning the War on Cancer, an Epic Journey. And but before I get to speaking about her, I will definitely want to just give a shout out to our sponsor, Phi-Vita. And since today we're going to be talking about natural therapies for the use in serious conditions like cancer, in our practice here at Sanjevani, we utilize CBD, and we only use Phi-Vita, which is clinical grade. It's organic. It's full spectrum. Again, go to phivita.com, and if you order any products from there, you enter the promo code PAI, P-A-I, for a discount. Again, phivita.com. That's what we use. That's what I personally use as myself. Now, today we have Sylvie Beljanski, and let me just give you a little bit of background of her. Sylvie was born in New York City after her father, Mirko Beljanski, Dr. Beljanski, came to New York to pursue a 2-year fellowship with Nobel Prize winner Servo Ocha, known for his DNA research on living cells. Raised and educated in Paris, she completed her undergraduate studies at the Sorbonne, very famous place. After receiving her law degree, she's a lawyer, she was admitted to the French bar. In 1996, Ms. Beljanski founded New York City-based company Natural Source International Limited, an organization that brings together science and nature to create innovative, natural, organic health and beauty products. In 1999, she founded the Beljanski Foundation, a registered nonprofit whose mission is to find a natural cure for cancer. Most recently, she has written a book called Winning the War on Cancer, the Epic Journey Towards a Natural Cure. And trust me, it is an epic journey. It's a new book. It's a breakthrough, and it reveals a true story about natural medical research that is a must-read if you know anybody that has cancer. Welcome, Sylvie. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. Thank you, Dr. Pai.
So tell me, first of all, are we winning the war on cancer?
We could, but we are not as of today, but we could. There is hope. There is a lot of reasons why we are not winning the war on cancer currently, and the numbers are not good. I mean, globally, it's considered that about 2 out of 3 people, more or less, are going to have a brush with cancer as of today. And according to the World Health Cancer Society, those numbers are going to double by 2030. So it looks like pretty grim, and there is a number of reasons for that, which is mostly that we have done always the same thing, which is not working since we started the war on cancer in the 70s. But there is hope. We don't have to do again and again the same thing. There has been a number of things that have seemed to be, bring some improvements, not at the treatment level of treatments, but at the level of health policies. People, for example, are smoking less, and right. We have the decrease of the number of lung cancer, for example. And the recent research is also showing that a natural approach could be very highly beneficial if companies were looking into that.
Right, and I realize, like in your book, just like mine, it's evidence-based. It has a lot of references, which I love, by the way. And in 2013, the National Cancer Institute spent $90 billion in research, and 260 nonprofits spent over $2.2 billion on research. And so this is important because all this money is being spent, but the problem is that that cost then ends up going to the consumer or the patient. So before 2000, the average cost of a cancer drug was about $10,000 for a year of treatment. and it has increased in 2005 to $30,000 to $50,000 per year. And then since 2012, 12 out of the 13 new drugs cost more than $100,000 per treatment. So the goal of looking at what is the natural therapies and how we can look at more safe, natural, and more cost-effective therapies is important. And that's why this book is important, because it explains that. So tell us a little bit about your history, particularly when people read your book. I recommend everybody to read this book. It reads like a mystery novel. It's engaging, it's exciting, and it's evidence-based. And our book is always about evidence. And I'm really I admire your father's work because it's true science. It's true science with the conviction of helping other people. And I think your father had a quote. It was like, if you have the power to do or help other people, then you should. And I really appreciate, because that's what we do here in our clinic. Everything is evidence-based. So explain, how our healthcare systems now have at this ends of we're spending too much money, but explain how your father got into this long story. It's an epic journey of actually looking at a natural cure.
Well, my father was a Ph.D. in molecular biology. He was working at the Pasteur Institute in Paris, so he was very much, in the conservative, traditional forefront of what was, research in France in the 80s. And but he had the idea that it was not all about mutations. There was something else. He had the intuition that environment is actually triggering mutations that can induce cancer.
Yeah, and I think he was kind of known as the father of environmental medicine, or early in the days where before people were even talking about environmental influences, everybody just thought it was just genetics, for example.
Exactly.
And it was very important to look at what is in the environment that can actually cause the mutations.
Exactly. And at the time, everybody was laughing at him, scoffing him, and so it was completely ridiculous. But he came up with a test showing how environmental toxins do affect the DNA, and he was able to measure the level of destabilization at the level of the DNA that those compounds are inducing. So by doing that, he gave really to environmental medicine its scientific basis. Then he had the idea that if nature came up with carcinogens, nature had also come up with anti-carcinogens. And he used the same test to look for natural molecules that would do exactly the opposite of carcinogens at the molecular level. That is, stop specifically the duplication of cancer DNA and leave alone healthy DNA.
And your father was unique because he was talking about different things that were not necessarily popular. So when we were talking about RNA and RNA becoming a primer, right? That was not very well receptive back then. It was thinking like DNA was the primer. DNA is the big, that was the kind of the dogma. And through your father's research, it was actually showing the opposite or different, meaning that the RNA primer can be, included in the changes of a cellular function. And that's where, invention and eventually development came to one of the products, which we'll talk about later on in the show.
Yeah, absolutely. My father was not keen with a number of dogmas which were, high in science, in the pantheon of science back in the 80s. And he made a lot of powerful enemies by questioning those kind of sacred cows. Yeah.
Right, and the story is interesting because not only did he did wonderful research at the Louis Pasteur Institute, is that through this dogma that he was actually kind of proving otherwise. He came up with a variety of natural compounds, which we have great studies in animals to show benefits. And more importantly, before the next break, I want to just briefly touch on that your father was someone who actually was able to treat and was a physician of the French President François Mitterrand for his prostate cancer.
Yes, absolutely. My father, by being a scientist, he published everything.
Right.
He published his results. So he had a number of French doctors who were quite interested in his research. and tried to use the products after that with great success. So when François Mitterrand finally acknowledged his sickness, he had a mistress. That's a French story.
Right.
So the mistress knew of a good doctor who was known for having good results with prostate cancer by using my father's products. So that doctor was actually brought to the French White House and had the opportunity to treat Mitterrand with the products. And Mitterrand started to get better and better. He was the surgeon who had made surgery opened the president and said he's very, very, very sick. The cancer has spread everywhere. Mitterrand is not going to finish his second term. The country should prepare for early elections. And of course, all that turned not to be true once Mitterrand was on the products.
Right. So Sylvie, after this next commercial break, we were going to explain what happened, right? So President Mitterrand was very sick, prostate cancer started to spread. They were saying nothing else to do, no more second term, and then Beljanski came in. We'll talk about that after the break, what happened, and we'll talk about the new inventions and things that you can start taking right now if you or someone else knows cancer. We'll be back after this short commercial break.
Clear.
All right, everybody, we're here live on Facebook, and we are talking with Sylvie Beljanski. A wonderful story. If you have not seen it, can you have me your book, please? It's Winning the War on Cancer. You can see it on behind her. You also can go to Amazon.com and buy that as well. Here, let me just show you here, the Winning the War on Cancer here. It's an epic journey, and it's a wonderful read. It's something that I couldn't put down. I really read it like one night. I was just reading it because it was just very exciting for me, because it's about science, it's about evidence, and it's about, kind of winning the war. Like, we have to look at other natural therapies, and also importantly, things that we can use in conjunction with, right? So we're not talking about alternative medicines, we're integrative. And I think the goal here that we're always trying to do on our show is actually show how we can integrate. We're not alternative, we're not conventional. We're looking at how do we improve the outcomes. And I believe this story that Sylvie has wrote is just right up that alley. It's looking at how do we mix things, how do we change our lifestyle, our diet, our environment, how do we utilize natural therapies. And then I'll be able to talk a little bit later about some of the research on how these therapies are working. Now, I also want to remind everybody that we do have a food as medicine retreat. So go to our website, sanjevani.net, and you can join us in Curacao, August 5th through 11th. Me, Maureen, and Robert Scott Bell will be providing an all-inclusive, wonderful food as medicine retreat. We're going to teach you how to cook. We're going to teach you how to live the lifestyle skills. We're going to be giving you a lot of education, wonderful organic food. We're going to teach you, again, how to make food as medicine. And for those who missed or anything else you want to look at that we've been talking about in all our episodes, go to sanjevanistore.com and you can order a copy of An Inflammation Nation after also you read Sylvie's book, War on Cancer, Winning the War on Cancer. All right. So, Sylvie, anybody you want to give a shout out to on Facebook?
Sorry?
Anybody you want to just say hello to on Facebook?
Yes. Well, I say hello to everybody who is watching. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the program. I mean, I'm delighted to be here live with Dr. Pai. I think it's a great opportunity, and I hope you enjoy the show as much as I do.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So we'll be starting back again. Everybody go to Amazon, or you can go to the Beljanski Foundation. We'll be posting some of those websites later on in the show. But Winning the War on Cancer, again, highly recommend books. So you can see all the tags here. We love this information, by the way. And we'll be talking about what products and what evidence bases we can use.
You are tuned in to Take Back Your Health. To reach our program today, call 1-866-472-5792. That's 1-866-472-5792. Or by email to radio@sanjevani.net. That's radio@sanjevani.net. Now, let's return to Take Back Your Health.
Welcome, everybody. Again, I'm Dr. Pine. We're here with wonderful Sylvie Beljanski, wonderful story, author of Winning the War on Cancer, an epic journey towards a natural cure. We were talking right before the break is that her father, working at the Louis Pasteur Institute, famous, and he's a biologist, biochemist, studied important aspects of new concepts that were against the current dogma at that time of just DNAs only changing cells, became known as more of the father of environmental medicine, looking at things that could potentially damage and cause mutations in cells that can cause potential risk for cancers. And he looked for the anti-carcinogens in the environment. And one of the things, interesting enough, Francois Mitterrand, who was the president of France, had a mistress, similar to like what we hear with current presidents, by the way. So this is like a universal theme, I think, that's happening everywhere. But the hairstylist had someone that got better from Dr. Beljanski, Sylvie's father, and then they met. And the president was actually treated for cancer conventionally, didn't work. They ended up having end-stage disease, and they looked at he wasn't going to get even into his second term. And then Sylvie, what happened after he met your father and was taking some of those natural products?
So against all odds, President François Mitterrand started to get better and better, and he was actually able to finish his second term.
Amazing.
And as long as Mitterrand was alive, nothing happened. But soon after Mitterrand passed away, the army and the SWAT team were sent to shut down and destroy my father's laboratory. And it's important to know that my father's laboratory was at the time the only independent laboratory researching cancer in France. Wow. Everything else was run by the government. So they sent the army to really shut down in a dissenting voice. And also, my mother and I believe that they radiated my father. And that he received a dose of radiation that made him very, very sick.
So again, these are themes that are still occurring today when some people don't want something by a government or an agency. Somehow this kind of poisoning seemed to occur around the world. So very unfortunate. What happened after your father then passed away? They raided the labs. What happened with all this wonderful research and the ingredients that he was working on?
So they arrived at the lab at 6 o'clock in the morning with helicopter, dogs, machine guns, and they really raided the place and took everything and destroyed everything they could destroy. They took a truckload of papers and they took away everything they could from the research. And my father started 2 months later. He started to be very, very sick. He was diagnosed with stage 4 acute myeloid leukemia, which is normally something that takes 10 years to develop.
Right.
2 months, which is kind of overnight. I mean,
right.
he was dying. And because I was a lawyer, I decided to step in and help my parents, because they also arrested my mother at home. I decided to step in and to take charge of their legal defense first. And what I found in the criminal file was absolutely astonishing. I read that there was a recommendation for the destruction of all evidence.
Wow.
I was appalled, as a lawyer, I was appalled, because justice is supposed to be about the conservation of evidence and bringing them to justice.
Absolutely.
Not supposed to be about destroying the evidence and never giving the defendant its day in court, which is what happened.
And with the big pharma and government, same thing happens all around the world. A lot of times there's so much money involved, politics involved, egos involved, that people who are working as pioneers or I'd say true scientists, true physicians to actually help heal people sometimes are marginalized or actually as you can say, destroyed publicly and professionally.
Very often, actually, it is a norm for. Seems to be the norm for
So you took the French government to the European Court of Human Rights. Is that correct? Like you actually took legal action against them.
Yes, exactly.
Which is very admirable. And what happened from that?
We won an unanimous decision. Yes, it took 4 long years, and unfortunately, my father could not live long enough to see the result. But we won because the French government did nothing to instruct the case and bring the case to court. They just wait for my father to die.
Wow.
As if they knew he was going to die, which only reinforces the idea
that he might have been poisoned or something. Yes, correct. And then with the research, then there was a couple of products that came out that you write specifically in the book, and then even the way you even went to not only to find those ingredients and to travel to far places to find the right trees and branches. There's a couple of ingredients I'm just going to read briefly. One of them is called Pau pueria, one's called Raufolia vomitoria, another one's called Ginkgo biloba, which is different than the kind of the ginkgo that we usually think here in the United States for the mind and body. One of the things that I was impressed is that some of these compounds that we see conventionally can have different parts that can sometimes have side effects. And like the Raufolia, we use in Ayurvedic medicine for centuries and centuries. Part of it has a compound called reserpine, which is used for blood pressure. Sometimes that can also have side effects. And what I saw reading your book is that your father realized some of these compounds that could be detrimental, and through his research he was able to extract and kind of remove the bad compounds and kind of keep in the good compounds, similarly how we do with all our products that we like to use evidence-based wise. Sometimes the whole plant traditionally might have been good, but now when we're trying to make it as a medicine, sometimes we have to look at specifics because now we're making concentrations higher doses. And it was very nice because he was able to take out some of the things that traditionally, when we just use the raw plant, we couldn't. And using those proprietary aspects, you have 3 products that were used very successfully in animal models, and some of them, like the Pau pueria, it has an alkaloid called flavopirin, and it induces apoptosis, which is cell death, has antiviral, anti-inflammatory properties. Raufolia also has an alkaloid called astonin, and that induces and arrests destabilized cells, also helps with hormone regulation. And the golden leaf ginkgo, which is different than the regular ginkgo that you see at the store, it's an enzyme regulator, helps protect healthy cells, hepatic functions, and even people, or even in studies with radiotherapy, radiation therapy, showed very, very positive supportive benefits. This is quite amazing because here most people don't understand the differences of quality, potency, purity. They just go to the store and say, "Oh, I heard this on a show. I'm just going to go buy some ginkgo," and that's not the right kind of form. And your book actually tailors really nicely your story of how you even went to go get those things, how you extracted those things, and really, kind of holding true to your father's legacy.
Yes, because I was a lawyer by trade, when I decided to carry on with the legacy, when I saw the way the French government was trying to destroy everything, I said, this cannot happen. Somebody has to stand up and say, I am going to make sure that this treasure of knowledge is going to survive. I cannot let the barbarians destroy everything. But because I was a lawyer, I did not have the scientific knowledge. So I had to learn, I had to discover myself. I had to understand what I was going to speak about.
Right.
And because I learned little by little, I had myself a journey towards this knowledge that brought me to an understanding that led me after that the opportunity to develop the Beljanski Foundation and carry on here with the research. But it has been my own journey, my own story to understand this very rich world of scientific research that my father.
I mean, coming from a legal background and to fight for your father's evidence and information and study work, and then also then to this probably brought you closer later on in your life probably to appreciate, because, you know, lawyers do law work and that sciences, medicine is something else. And sometimes we're not really interested in that. And I'm sure you appreciate it now in a different light because you had to go through learning what your father was doing in the laboratory all these years.
Oh, absolutely. When I was a little girl, you know, I was seeing all those people coming sick, coming home. And I felt like, no, I never want to be involved with all those sick people. I don't need that in my life. And my parents, I mean, they were always, you know, working, were always at the lab, kind of lab rats themselves. And that's not what I want for my life when I grow up. But once adult, once I understood the richness and the importance of what they were doing and how much of a difference it could make in some people, saving so many lives, I said, I just could not turn my back.
Yeah, it's a great story. Again, everybody, it's Winning the War on Cancer, an epic journey towards a natural cure by Sylvie Beljanski. Go to www.amazon.com and get a copy. Also, you can go to Sanjevani store and get a copy as well. You know, upon this commercial break, what we want to talk about is how I'll tell you our personal story using one of Sylvie's products with Maureen and how that helped her get through her cancer treatments, and how we help most of our cancer patients through just a haphazard a meeting that I had with Sylvie actually changed our lives. And so we're really grateful and honored for her and her father's work. And we'll explain that story upon this commercial break.
Thank you.
You're clear?
All right, everybody, we're on Facebook Live here with Sylvie Beljanski. A wonderful story so far. Remember, her father did a lot of amazing research, Louis Pasteur Institute, developed some new concepts that were not in vogue at the time. Now it's, you know, we all understand it, but back then it was not in vogue. And he did help the president of France through his cancer, and actually was kind of advocated with the French president. Unfortunately, once the French president passed on later on, even though he was helped by Dr. Beljanski's products, that information was suppressed. There was kind of a counter-resurgence of let's go attack this information, let's suppress the information. And Sylvie, luckily, she was an attorney, not a physician, because she was able to use her skills and actually take the French government, she was in the court for 4 years, to the European Court of Human Rights and win the case that basically allowed her and her father to continue with his research and actually probably clear his name and kind of put him in a better light. Unfortunately, he passed away through this process, and Sylvie has created a foundation called the Beljanski Foundation. That is a nonprofit that helps with information, helps with teaching physicians, practitioners, and they have a variety of products that consumers can use, and also physicians. We use a professional line of products for our patients for support through their cancer therapies. So wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. I highly recommend. One of the things that if you want to do is if you go to sanjevanistore.com, you can get a discount on any of the products, the Beljanski products that we carry. Just enter the promo code PAI and you'll get a discount. So again, we provide the professional products. I'll mention that on the show, but it's a professional line because there's a consumer line and a professional line, and we just, for compliance reasons, it just helps patients. And also we want people to have a little bit more guidance. But I'll be talking shortly about how one of their products is quite amazing, and I'll get into the detail in a few seconds. So thank you again for joining us. Again, Food is Medicine Retreat over here. Go to sanjevani.net. Join us August 5th through the 11th in Curacao. Sanjevani.net for more information. And if you book early, you will get a discount. I believe it's a $300 discount before May 5th.
You are tuned in to Take Back Your Health. To reach our program today, call 1-866-472-5792. That's 1-866-472-5792. Or by email to radio@sanjevani.net. That's radio@sanjevani.net. Now, let's return to Take Back Your Health.
Welcome, everybody. We're having a wonderful discussion. It's just like a mystery novel, an adventure novel, a scientific discovery novel, Winning the War on Cancer, the epic journey towards a natural cure with Sylvie Beljanski, doctor of the famous Beljanski, Mirko Beljanski. What I want to tell everybody right now is that I met Sylvie a few years ago, actually probably 4 years ago, maybe 5 years ago. It was at a cancer conference, and she had a booth. She was providing some information. I picked up some of her literature, and she had a really just short, brief introduction of what she had to provide, and I kind of stored it like everything else in the back of my memory hard drive. And then years later, 2 years ago, unfortunately, Maureen, my partner, came down with a severe but rare, serious type of cancer. And we'll have a whole show on this, but we actually went down to Mexico and we tried all these these kind of natural alternative therapies. None of them worked, unfortunately, and it didn't work for everybody else. And so we ended up coming back and trying, conventional medicines and, doing the dietary lifestyle, all the epigenetic changes. We know that if you use combinations, integrative medicine, you can have improved outcomes. So one of the things is that when she was getting her chemotherapy, her platelets went down, which are the cells that make your blood thick or thin for clotting, and her white cells, her soldier cells, her WBCs go down. This is common for most people that get any type of chemotherapy, no matter whether it's a toenail cancer or head brain cancer or breast cancer, colon cancer, prostate cancer. So one of the side effects that you get from chemotherapy is your white cells and platelets go down. So at the same time, Maureen was at Mayo Clinic getting her treatment. We had a patient that I referred to with the same cancer, believe it or not, went to Cancer Treatment Center of America, and her daughter, his daughter, is an anesthesiologist who we've become good friends since then. And they were paralleling their track of treatments together, just in 2 different facilities. And once they took the certain type of chemo regimen, both of theirs white blood cells and platelet cells dropped, just simultaneously. That's how it is then. And we, usually in conventional medicine, they give something called Neulast or Neupogen. It can cost about $7,000 an injection. And so usually the insurance will only give you 1 or 2 just to help build your bone marrow back up, your bone production of your white blood cells. Most of the time, most people can't get that because it's not covered. It's too expensive. And so as Maureen's counts went down, I got a call from our friend, and she says, well, my dad's still continuing therapy. And I go, well, didn't his counts drop down? They go, oh, no, they gave him something and it boosted it up. I said, did he get Neulast or the Neupogen injection? They said, no, we're taking a natural supplement, a natural dietary product. I go, from who? And then they said, from the oncologist here at Cancer Treatment Center of America. And I said, how are they doing that? And he says, oh, because they actually published a clinical study and published in an oncology journal on the use of this natural product for the specific use in chemotherapy patients that have low white cells and low platelets due to the chemotherapy side effects. And I was like, well, let me know what it is. And once they mentioned the name, it just took me a while. I'm like, I remember someone I met a couple of years ago. And I looked through emails. I was like, I remember someone. And then it dawned on me. It was the Beljanski product. And I eventually ended up seeing her just right after that appointment. I actually saw Sylvie back at a conference. I met up with her. She gave me the product. She gave me she complimentary gave me a product, which was very nice. Thank you, Sylvie. Gave me the instructions, and literally after the second dose, so it's every 3 days, after the second dose sublingually underneath the tongue, Maureen's white cells and platelets went back to normal. And for me, it was just like, wow. This is, it was amazing because this is like in real time. And also the patient that we knew over there at Cancer Treatment Center of America. So this is like evidence-based medicine. Now, what this product is on the professional side is called Immunobel. And Immunobel is made out of this RNA fragment. And this RNA fragment is what Dr. Beljanski was studying on the primers of how it can help repair and stimulate. And so I'll let Sylvie explain a little bit, but explain to the listeners, how does the RNA fragments work in the real build, which is the product that's commercial for the consumers, and the Immunobel, which is the professional, a little bit higher potency clinical dose for how does that work with the patient's white blood cells and their platelets?
Oh, yes, sure. And thank you for mentioning and sharing this story. I mean, it's always makes me so happy to feel that way. I mean,
Oh no, we're forever grateful, because again, one of the things, the problems with chemotherapy is, as there's a suppression of white cells and platelets, then they have to postpone therapy and wait till the person's blood count slowly rises over time. The problem is, every time we postpone chemotherapy treatments, then the risk of resistance of cancer comes from the therapy, because we're just delaying the treatment. So this was very helpful, and right now Maureen's 2 years cancer free. So we appreciate your support and your father's research to help us and to help thousands of patients worldwide.
So indeed, I mean, the loss of white blood cells and platelets is very, very common and is associated with most chemotherapies. So my father was very sensitive and to the issue, really was always looking how to help patients undergoing conventional treatments. He was very open already at the time to what is a synergy of action, how to work with conventional treatments. And especially with chemotherapies, he thought, you know, how can we help patients get white blood cells and platelets? And for that, he said, how is the body creating white blood cells and platelets for start? And the body is creating those white blood cells and platelets through the bone marrow. So he said, if I can boost the bone marrow, boost the turnaround of the turnover of the bone marrow cells, then they will do their job faster and will create more white blood cells and platelets naturally, without side effects, without toxicity. And he had the idea to come up with little RNA primers that prime actually the DNA of the bone marrow selectively and help the bone marrow to create new white blood cells and platelets. So at Cancer Treatment Centers of America, indeed, a few years ago, the foundation was very lucky to have the opportunity to have a clinical trial there with RNA fragments. And we had people with different kinds of chemotherapies, different kinds of cancer. A lot of them were already very advanced in their treatments, and their bone marrow was very battered already. They were all at the verge of thrombocytopenia, which is a complete loss of platelets. And so we had very, very damaged patients. And we gave them, we started with 20 milligrams and to see if there was any side effect, and no side effect. And then we gave them with 40 milligrams, and we saw, you know, the white blood cells and platelets going up and no side effects. So the oncologist gave 60 milligrams and then 80 milligrams, and there was always no side effect or no toxicity. And every time, so we were able to see how the patients, their white blood cells and platelets were going up and up and up. And at the end of the treatment, their bone marrow had been nicely protected. The bone marrow was able to create their own white blood cells and platelets, so people do not have to be all the time on the product. It's just, you know, during the chemotherapy treatment. And they were doing very well without toxicity. And that's very, very, very important, because indeed, as you said, the Neulasta, for example, is very expensive. It's not something that you can take for a long, long time.
Right, and most of your insurance companies don't cover it, and particularly people in my state, a very poor state, you know, you don't even get it. So some people who have good insurance, they might allow 1 or 2 injections, but the problem is, you know, some people's chemotherapy is 3 months, 4 months, 6 months, and so, you know, within 2 weeks, the platelets go down, the white cells go down, they get 1 injection covered, maybe 2, and then the insurance says, I'm sorry, we're not covering anymore, and then yet the patient still has many more months. So this is a very inexpensive, helpful, non-toxic, supportive therapy that can be given. It's a sublingual. It comes like a little vial, sub powder underneath the tongue. RNA fragments is safely derived. It's off of a culture, and it's a specific way that they do that. And again, it's called Immunobel, the professional kind that we have, or real build on the consumer line. It's just the Immunobel is at a higher potency. Again, it's taken usually, I think, every 3 days when people are going through their chemotherapy, and once the counts go up, they can stop that. Or if people are just going through the therapy, maybe once every 2 weeks, just to prevent it even from happening. So they respond very quickly. It's very effective. We have personal experience in our patients and even in my partner. What an amazing thing. I just want to read a couple of other things because there is a few other products, when she mentions that we call Oncobel, which has the Pau Pereira, the Raulfia, and the ginkgo. And I just want to read some research. In vivo, the Pau Pereira alone suppressed tumor growth by 79%, decreased volume of ascites by 55%. This is when people get the swelling of the abdomen when there's cancer and the fluid shifts. And combined with a chemotherapy of carboplatin, the inhibition went up to 97% and complete eradication of the ascites. So something that can be used in combination, the Pau Pereira. And then the Raulfia with the carboplatin showed similar results, improving up to 97%. Pancreatic cancer, Pau Pereira showed 72% suppression in cancer in the mice. And when Raulfia vomitoria was given with gemcitabine, which is another chemotherapy agent, it significantly reduced tumors. And in some mice, the tumors were completely regressed. So this is something that, again, if you have an integrative provider, you'd want to definitely recommend them to look these products up and see how they can help you. If you are taking any of these kind of current chemotherapies, it might be something that might be an adjuvant therapy to help improve your outcome. If you're getting side effects and lowering platelets or white cells, this will be the Immunobel would be something helpful. And then in her book, she actually goes through each one, because some people have certain specific conditions and they might just only need a single ingredient. But again, I highly recommend people take a look, because most people who get chemotherapy will have low platelets and low white cells. And most people know someone right now who has cancer. So highly recommend Immunobel in those patients.
And that's why at the Beljanski Foundation, we make sure that everything is researched and everything is published, because we understand that the doctor will have questions and wants to see the science, and that makes sense. So that's why at the Beljanski Foundation we publish everything, and you can go and see online on the website of the Beljanski Foundation at beljanski.org, and you can download all the research. I mean, the research on Pau Pereira and ovarian cancer, the research on Pau Pereira Raulfia on pancreatic cancer, the research, the clinical trial at Cancer Treatment Centers of America. Everything is available online, so you can download those research and bring them to your doctor and have a significant discussion with the doctor.
Wonderful.
The doctors don't know everything always about integrative medicine, but they say, show me the science.
Right. And we're always about evidence-based. So again, once again, it's Beljanski, BELJANSKI.org. Go there and learn more. And after this short break, we will continue this wonderful discussion after our message from our wonderful sponsors.
Clear.
All right, everybody. This is such an exciting opportunity to speak with Sylvie Beljanski, again, winning the war on cancer. Again, highly recommend read. Personally, we as we see in integrative medicine, a lot of cancer patients in our practice, but we're evidence-based. So we want to look at only evidence-based therapies. And these are all natural therapies, but it's evidence-based. There's publications, there's studies. It's not just testimonial. It's not just someone talking on the internet in a cancer docu-series, or just hearsay, or someone saying, hey, I just heard that they did this and that in Mexico, or this in Switzerland. It's like, what do we have actually that can show improved outcomes? And this is a great story. Sylvie's father has done wonderful work, and Sylvie has done even more amazing work preserving and providing this information and the quality of these ingredients that are available to us today as a dietary supplement, which is very, very cost effective and very, very clinically beneficial for everyone. So again, for those who are listening, if you go to sanjevanistore.com, you can go to sanjevanistore.com and you can enter the promo code PAI, P-A-I, for any discount on the Beljanski products, Immunobel, that helps with white cells and platelets, and the Oncobel, which is the combination of all three of the wonderful ingredients that her father has kind of proprietary processed. Also, don't forget, we have the Food as Medicine Retreat. So join us in Curacao, which is now considered the Wellness Island, or has been declared the Wellness Island, for a wonderful health week vacation, all-inclusive organic plant-based diet lifestyle, Just treat yourself. We will transform your life with
10
healers,
seconds.
drivers, and many other people coming all around the world. Most of you who are listening, please join us in Curacao.
You are tuned in to Take Back Your Health. To reach our program today, call 1-866-472-5792. That's 1-866-472-5792. Or by email to radio@sanjevani.net. That's radio@sanjevani.net. Now, let's return to Take Back Your Health.
Thank you, everyone. This has been a great show. Again, we've been speaking with Sylvie Beljanski, author of Winning the War on Cancer, An Epic Journey for Natural Cure. Sylvie, I really appreciate you coming today. It's been a great discussion. We spoke about your father being, a prominent biologist, a chemist, biochemist, study at the Louis Pasteur Institute, how he treated the president of France during his cancer successfully. Unfortunately, how his information was suppressed and almost, SWAT teams and government, almost, again, 60-minute style story, the controversy here of pharma and governments and politics, and then the reemergence of his daughter being an attorney. Thank God you went to law school. That degree paid off, fighting in the Human Court of Rights in the European Court, winning after 4 years of battle, basically winning the case, winning the access to the information that was suppressed, and availability to continue with this wonderful research and the amazing introduction of these products now into clinical trials. Again, those people who want to read more, learn more, go to Beljanski.org, Beljanski.org, and find out more. You have all the research there, especially the one I was talking about, the Cancer Treatment Center of America, the product Immunobel. Again, if you go to Sanjevani.store, you can get 20% off if you enter the promo code PAI. So, Sylvie, quite a story. Now, where are you going from now that you have this book out, which is great, and I hope it takes off. I hope more and more people start reading it and understanding, learning about these products and learning about your father's history. Where's the Beljanski Foundation going, and where do you see it going in the future?
What we want to do is more research about the products that have already been proven to be extremely interesting and efficient. We have, with the Paupera and the Revolvia vomitoria that you already mentioned, we already have in the pipeline new publications about cancer stem cells.
Wow.
Cancer stem cells are very important because they resist to chemotherapy. So they are the one who resist and then are able to travel and to create new tumors.
Right, and that's why we see a lot of recurrence in the United States. There's a heavy recurrence without people changing their immune system. And one of the things that we recommend for the immune system is we recommend CBD, and I mentioned 5eta.com for the CBD. We also we like to use a beta glucan, and it's called it's called Glucan 300. It's the strongest, most patented, clinically tested. They actually have the fourth comparison clinical study that we'll be talking about later, but go to purebetaglucan.com to find out more. But taking CBD, that helps stimulate your own immune cells, you're kind of repairing. Taking the Beljanski products, which are very specific now. She's doing research now on cancer stem cells. We're looking at research now in the animal studies, as well as we say the Cancer Treatment Center of America, that show benefits and no toxicities in patients. And then taking things like a beta-glucan to stimulate those immune systems once it's there, the natural killer cells, vitamin D, plant-based diet, reducing the stress. These are all the key factors. Remember, there's not just one product, but the idea is we're looking at how do we get the totality of all the factors that we know, diet, lifestyle, and environment, what her father was talking about. What are the environmental things? Cleaning up, eating more organic, less GMO products, less chemicals that we put on our body. These are all the key factors. That's all listed in my book, An Inflammation Nation. And also, you'll learn more in Sylvie's book about what you can do and learning about her father's discoveries, finding a natural cure. So one of the things I do want to mention just real quick, since we're evidence-based and people always want to know, but is there potential interactions with the medications I'm taking? With the Immunobel, which is the RNA fragment, there can be some interaction with some benzodiazepine family drugs, and also if people are on blood thinner medications. So you just want to make sure that if you're taking those things, make sure that you have a healthcare provider kind of monitor with those with you. But aside of that, wonderful, wonderful, easy to take. Again, very, very safe and effective.
Yeah, and we even have some people with, for example, we have some, no study, but we have some evidence for through testimonials that some people who have had, for example, schizophrenia have also seen an improvement by taking on a regular basis, adding the RNA fragments to their diet. And it takes a while, but it seems that like the electrical connections in the brain get improved. And we have also seen, been told by some doctors that some children who have ADD also, once you remove the sugar, the gluten, and all those things, and you add some RNA fragments, then they see some benefit.
Yeah, and I can see that, the connection, because, we're talking about microbiome, we're talking about immune system cells and damage. And we know that with all these conditions, schizophrenia, Parkinson's, autism, ADHD kind of diseases, it's not necessarily in the brain, but we know it's actually happening elsewhere in the gut. It's causing dysfunction due to antibiotics, vaccines, immunizations, illnesses, environmental toxins. There's a variety of factors, but one of the things is that improving the epigenetics with the RNA fragments might help with repairing some of this damage. And everybody's different where that damage has come from. But if we can find something that's safe and effective, I would definitely try it. If I was a parent of a child, or if I had one of these conditions myself, Western medicine is lacking in some of these areas. I would definitely say, let's give it a try. How long would you recommend, or when people take this? I know with the RNA fragments for the white cells, it was really fast. Within a week or two, they will easily come back up. For other, again, we don't have the studies on it, but other things that you've just seen kind of testimonial or just clinically in terms of case reports or what doctors are recommending, how long would someone need to take that to see some kind of benefit, would you think?
Well, based on the testimonials that we have received, for example, for a case of schizophrenia, it takes 2 to 3 months, but there is an improvement that has been reported.
That's great. So 2 to 3 months, everybody. Again, very effective, very safe natural therapies that can be used in conjunction with many conventional and other natural therapies as well. Some of these things that when you look at, again, I just want to emphasize, it's how Beljanski extracted those compounds. And I was always talking about the potency, purity, safety, and efficacy. And in my opinion, the Beljanski products also follow our Sanjevani mission and goal of safe, natural, clinically effective. And they've done a good job at looking at it. So don't look at the internet and try to get some generic form of these things, because it may actually have those other compounds that actually have side effects. There's a reason why her father did the work that he did and was famous for what he did, and actually why we use it now clinically. So don't go for cheap or go for, on the web and try to buy things. We're talking about getting clinical safe efficacy. And this is where we have to validate the use of these natural products and follow what is in the clinical literature. And so this is something that they've published. I respect that. I use those products at those doses. So once again, everybody, this has been a wonderful, wonderful interview with Sylvie Beljanski. Again, go get this book on Amazon.com. If she comes anywhere in your town and gives a lecture, definitely go visit her. Nice person to meet. If I ever go to France, hopefully I can go with her and learn some French and have a nice croissant and some espresso coffee. This is a great book, everybody, and I appreciate everybody listening to the show. Sylvie's been a great person in our life. We want to thank you, Sylvie, and your father for all the work that you have done for us and for our patients. Again, everybody go to sanjevanistore.com, PAI, for any discount on Beljanski products. And any last words that you want to say to the people out there?
Well, thank you very much. Thank you for this opportunity to explain my father's research. I'm always very honored every time I have, and thrilled every time I have the opportunity to explain this research. It is such a message of hope that my father left, that there are natural molecules out there without toxicity, without side effects that can help. So they deserve to be known, they deserve to be researched. And maybe, you know, what I want to do with the foundation is to continue to search nature to see if there are other molecules.
Right. And the goal is to hopefully we find even more. So appreciate you coming on the show today. And everybody out there, I want you to wish you best of health, and I'll see you next week here on Take Back Your Health. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You're clear.
All right, everybody, we're here on Facebook Live. We're going to spend another minute or two. Sylvie, is there anything else that you want to tell the listeners now? The audio portion is finished, so that will go in the archive. People can listen to that all around the world. But now we're here on Facebook, which is a unique crowd because these are people who are spending time listening to our show. So I always like to give a shout out to everybody. Hey, everybody, this is Dr. Pi, and this is Sylvie Beljanski. And anything that you want to kind of say to the listeners that's different or unique or something that you want to share about yourself?
Well, sharing about myself, I live in New York. I've been now here for over 20 years. I'm delighted to be here in the States. That's really my new country. I feel that I have been very, very lucky actually to have received the opportunity to carry on with this research, and that has been the mission of my life. It has given me a sense of purpose and direction. I'm very grateful for all of it. And the opportunity to make a difference, to help people. This is, I mean, as a lawyer, you can help people, but it's not the same thing. Having the opportunity to have people to come to tell me, you know, that they feel better, that their relative feel better. I mean, that's priceless.
Yeah, and it was a pleasure meeting you at the last conference, because when Maureen, you know, she never got to meet you before. I just met you before. We spoke. We sent the emails, and you sent the instructions on how to use it when we were at the hospital. And then when we got to see, we were sitting at the conference, and the presenter was actually presenting the research on the Immunobel at the Cancer Treatment Center of America data at the A4M conference recently in December. And then we were sitting, I think, in front of you, and I told Maureen, hey, that's Sylvie. She's the one. She was so excited. We were both excited because it's just like, you know, thank you. This is what we do in our clinic. We like to look at, you know, the kind of the pioneers, the leaders, the thrivers, people who put their reputation on the line, sometimes their life on the line. Father put his life on the line to continue to publish and to pursue the use of natural therapies. And that's the goal at the end of the day, is looking at how we can improve outcomes. It's not saying this is better than that. It's just that we all need to be doing better. And our goal is, can we do it better, safer, and more cost effective? And I think, you know, adding this into the regimen of what we have here at Sanjevani has been a blessing.
And, you know, even though we have the scientific publications, the data, I mean, I don't take any result for granted. So every testimonial is a blessing.
Sure. And, you know, one thing, everybody, in her book, which I recommend, again, you know, Winning the War on Cancer here, is that, you know, her father had 130 publications. So it's like one thing or one-off thing. All the research is there. All the other research is there as well. So her book is well cited. So just like my book, you know, evidence-based, it's really interesting, reads wonderful. I hope everybody goes out to Amazon and buys this book. And again, if you need any questions or you have any concerns, you can go to beljanski.org, or you can go to Sanjevani store and sanjevani.net, and you can make an appointment and I can help with a consultation. We also have a program coming soon, which will explain on the next future shows of how we can help patients with a 12-week program, changing their epigenetics before they go in for any kind of conventional treatment. So Sylvie, I want to thank you today for joining me and spending the time in New York City. And it's just nice to know you. And I know that we'll be working probably more with you. And every time and anytime you get any more research, please forward it to us, and we'll definitely give a shout out on our radio show and mention it to our patients.
Thank you very much, Dr. Pai.
All right. Thank you, everybody, on Facebook. Again, this is Dr. Sunil Pai. We will see you next week. Thank you very much, and best of health.
Thank you.